Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. St. Thomas residents grateful for free Wi-Fi, concerned about safety. Despite expressions of gratitude to the Universal Service Fund USF for establishing a hotspot zone in which community members in Seaford in St. Thomas will be able to access free Wi-Fi, some residents are mindful that their children will not be able to benefit from the commodity. The multi-billion-dollar project, which was launched in the community on Wednesday, is the first of many stops to be made by the USF, an agency under the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, as part of its mandate to ensure access to information and communication tools to facilitate development. The agency shared that it is working to establish 189 community Wi-Fi hotspots in 63 constituencies across Jamaica by March 2022. The local area network, which was established in the center of Seaford, spans a range of 800 feet and allows for the connection of up to 200 devices concurrently. While applauding the initiative, residents residing outside of the range shared their reluctance to send their children to the area in which the access is granted because of safety concerns. I am grateful for what they are doing in the area, though I am out of the 800 feet, so it doesn't benefit me. However, I am not going to send my child to the square because everybody knows that Seaford is in a crisis right now and it's not really safe for the children to be in the streets, said Marcia Francis of Blacksmith Lane. The community was recently named by the police as one of the 2 troubled areas which have recorded a flare-up of violence in the parish. Speaking with reporters, the mother of 2 children who are currently registered for online classes said she is not willing to risk their lives for internet access. You don't have to be involved in anything. It can just be that you're being at the wrong place at the wrong time, so it's better to be safe than sorry. I would rather continue to struggle to see if I can buy the credit to put on the service, and when they can't attend class, we just let the teacher know, Francis said, as she made a request for another router to be set up closer to her home. Sharing plans for the space, USF CEO Daniel Dawes said that discussions will be had with the members of Parliament for Western St. Thomas in which Seaford falls to outfit the area to facilitate children who are outside the internet's reach. He noted too that the free service will also be set up in the communities of Cedar Valley, Trinityville, Bath, Portmarant, and Duncanville over the next few weeks. By the end of the calendar year, we are also programmed to deploy 3 public Wi-Fi in Morant Bay. This is different from the community Wi-Fi, which goes into the heart of the community. The public Wi-Fi is within the township and available for all, he said. During his address at the launch event, Dawes revealed that specific limitations will be put on the provision of the service is being provided for the primary purposes of education, research, and business. Also in attendance at the launch event were Principal of Seaford High School, Calbert Thomas, along with some of his students, Councillor for the Seaford Division, Joan Spencer, and Mayor of Morant Bay, Michael Hugh, who are heartily welcoming the initiative. JPS ordered to pay over $220 million for breaching guaranteed standards. The light and service company JPS has been ordered to pay its customers more than $220 million for breaching its guarantee standards. The Office of Utilities Regulation, OR, revealed yesterday that it has approved the phased payment in compensation to thousands of Jamaica Public Service customers. According to OR, the compensation must be paid for breaches between March 2020 and September 2021. The approval comes after Energy Minister Darrell Valls denied a request by the JPS for a whole-scale suspension of the guaranteed standards. The company is now required to pay more than $220 million to affected customers for breaches committed in the given period.
JPS had made the suspension request on the basis that the continuing adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic presented force majeure conditions. The company also said those effects warranted the company being excused from compliance with the guaranteed and overall standards under its electricity license of 2016. The minister communicated his final decision to JPS in a letter dated October 7, 2021, indicating that he's upholding a previous decision to only grant a limited waiver of penalties for just 2 guaranteed standards. As a result, JPS is mandated to pay an accumulated $220,989,262 to affected customers for breaches committed between March 2020 and September 2021. In a letter to the OUR seeking approval for a payment schedule, the JPS cited cash flow issues exacerbated by the ongoing pandemic. The OUR says it approved a payment schedule up to April 2022 for a phased payment and compensation. In addition, JPS has resumed its monthly payment in November to affected customers for breaches of the guaranteed standards committed in October. The OUR says all payments are applied as credits to applicable bills. The regulatory body says customers should familiarize themselves with JPS's guaranteed standards so they can also identify when breaches are committed.
DPP to exercise power to appeal sentence of member of Kings Valley Gang. In a historic first test, the country's Director of Public Prosecution, Paula Llewellyn, will exercise her power to appeal the sentence handed down to a member of the notorious Kings Valley Gang in Westmoreland. The convicted man, Lindell Powell, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder when he appeared in the Westmoreland Circuit Court last month. The matter was transferred to the Hanover Circuit Court for sentencing. Justice Bertram Morrison reportedly stunned the court when he sentenced Powell to only 12 years in prison with the possibility for parole after 10 years. In a swift response, the country's chief prosecutor says she will be taking the matter to the appeal court.
Lindell Powell reportedly confessed to, quote, fire 5 shot in his chest in relation to the murder of Ida Clark. He and an accomplice identified as Alkaline, who is now deceased, reportedly robbed Oral McIntosh of $32,000 and his licensed firearm. Mr. McIntosh was killed execution style, lying face down with a single gunshot to the head. These were the facts that confronted Justice Morrison when he sentenced Powell to 12 years in prison. The sentences are to run concurrently. This means the convicted killer will serve 10 years in total. The Deputy Director of Public Prosecution reportedly indicated to the court that such a sentence would shock the public conscience given the nature of the crimes. Within minutes of the sentence being handed down, the DPP decided to ask the appeal court to review Justice Morrison's sentence.
After the judge handed down the sentence, the deputy director was handling the matter, stepped outside and spoke to me on the telephone, and in consultation with me, I immediately instructed her to return to court and indicate or give a notice of intention to appeal the sentence. And this would surround the fact that as far as we are concerned, when one considers sentencing range, when one considers the character and nature of the 2 cases of murder, the circumstances to which this accused man is guilty, the public interest would oblige the prosecution to immediately appeal the sentence.
The DPP described the sentence as unduly lenient and inadequate. Justice Morrison, in handing down his sentence, reportedly noted that the convicted killer was not raised to be a religious person and was never exposed to religious services. The justice also told the confessed killer that he needed to do considerable time as he had fired 5 shots into a person's chest. Quote, when you squeeze that firearm, it's not toothpaste come out tight, you know. End quote. The senior prosecutor refused to be drawn on the thinking of the judge when he handed down what is being considered an overly lenient sentence.
I am not going to go into the mind of the judge. It would be presumptuous of me so to do. He has his function as he sees fit, and I have mine. And the both of us operate with our differing functions under the Constitution.
When pressed as to the prospect of the prosecution's chance of success in prevailing in the appeal court, this was Miss Llewellyn's response.
Mr. Brooks, please do not try to draw my tongue with a third. I'm an experienced prosecutor, and I prefer to play the game on the merit of each stroke. So the circumstances are there. I consulted with my deputy. I am aware of the precedents in law in respect of cases that have gone before us where you have a double murder in a situation where the person has pleaded guilty, and we also have the sentence guidelines, we have the law, and we now have the legislation. So the interest of the public interest, and the legal provision.
180 at-risk youth targeted under Crime Prevention Initiative. Some 180 at-risk youths living in hotspot communities within Kingston, St. Catherine, Clarendon, and St. James are now being targeted under an initiative geared at improving their social, educational, and economic opportunities. The FHI's 360 Local Partner Development LPD private sector partnerships towards Youth Crime Prevention Program, as the initiative is dubbed, yesterday received a $27 million boost with a grant from the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. The initiative is being executed by the government and FHI 360, a non-profit human development organization based in North Carolina, in partnership with 6 private sectors company, CAC 2000 Foundation, Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation, Jamaica Energy Partners, Jamaica Public Service Foundation, Lascaux Foundation, and Manpower and Maintenance Services Limited. Already, 52 of the 180 youths have been identified and placed in programs being executed by the 6 companies starting in August this year. The projects focus on skill training, employment programs, and psychosocial interventions, specifically in relation to the CAC 2000 Foundation's technical skill training and empowerment programs. As many as you know, the U.S. government remains committed to supporting the government and the people of Jamaica to achieve the national development goals as outlined under Vision 2030, USAID Country Representative for Jamaica, Jason Fraser, said during a forum yesterday. I'm proud that through the United States Agency for International Development, we are partnering not only with the government of Jamaica, but with private sector organizations that are equally committed to help solve Jamaica's long-standing challenges with crime and violence, he added. Shauna Chowers, Chief Technical Director in the Ministry of National Security, thanked the USAID for its donation and applauded the companies for partnering to execute the transformative initiative. The Ministry of National Security gladly accepted this engagement, as it is our distinct pleasure to partner with FHI 360 once more. The Ministry recognizes the sustained work of the LPD in working closely with Jamaica's local organizations, especially our private sector, in order to provide for sustainability in the area of youth crime and violence prevention, Chowers stated. The Government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of National Security, is committed to ensuring that all partnerships are geared at not only provided for isolated projects, but underpinned by a greater goal of citizen security through social investment, and this has recently been exposed. Nathan Garden was grateful for the program through which he is receiving mentorship from the Lascaux Foundation. During the course of being in the Lascaux Foundation and the partnership with the USAID, we have been learning a lot about budgeting and how to start up our own businesses, he said. There have been a lot of counseling sessions with them, talking to them and expanding our minds about a lot of stuff, including family-wise, friend-wise, and just helping us to cope during this pandemic, Garden added. Another participant, Oshane White, a resident from Tivoli Gardens in Kingston, said the program has given him a life-changing opportunity. I was sent to UTech, the University of Technology Jamaica, to learn a trade. I'm learning electrical engineering. It has been a great experience, to be honest. We've learned a lot, White said. Karim Jones said the persons he was placed with have made him feel welcome. I know about stocks, I know how to budget, I know how to get sponsors for my business, he said. From me start the class, it just like ideas keep on a come. Cause where me then know, me structure me mind, is like me want start a business, and the class have pushed me forward towards having that business done. Representatives from the 6 private sectors organization also signed the agreement yesterday, as each will be given funds to help sponsor the youth. Please remember, to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.